One last point. I'm Shannon Webster. I'm pastor of First Presbyterian Church here in Birmingham. From all outside appearances, it would appear that David Pizzato and Pauline Howland were released for doing their job, which was doing the programming and editing of what kind of public television would be available to us. And there's not even an appropriate place on a public television channel for someone whose ties are to the Christian identity movement and the British Israelism, Christian Reconstruction. Very strange sort of outfit. They were doing their work, and it's unfortunate that their dedication to their craft cost them that employment.
Let me, for anyone who doesn't know, explain what Christian identity is. David Barton gave speeches to two different Christian identity groups in 1991. He claimed that he had no idea what these groups are really all about. Christian identity is a heretical reading of the Bible, which posits the idea that Eve did not take a bite of an apple in the Garden of Eden. Eve actually was seduced, literally seduced by Satan, and gave birth to Cain and Abel, of course. Cain was the first Jew, quote unquote. This is a theology, and it is a full-blown theology, that says people who are not white, people of color, are mud people, quote unquote. The Bible is the history of white people, not of anyone else. Christian identity also argues that people who call themselves Jews today, the Jews, are actually not the Hebrews of the Bible at all. Those would be white people, Aryans, as Christian identity followers say. So, in a nutshell, Christian identity is a neo-Nazi theology, a kind of neo-Nazi twist on the Bible. I think it's important to say that there's no evidence that Barton did know exactly what this theology was about, but it probably says a great deal about him that he is willing to speak to these kinds of right-wing church groups.
I want to acknowledge also the people who are here from Faithful America and Credo who signed the petitions, and to express my appreciation for receiving us here with these petitions. We ask that you pass them along to the Commission. We are really hoping that this will have some effect in preventing this intrusion into an honored, respected public service, Alabama Public Television. Thank you.
Now, I would like to thank you, and it solidifies the support of a large group that the actions of the committee within APT, of which Mr. Pizzato and Ms. Howland were a member, when we reviewed these, and we as the internal group made a decision at that time that this was not appropriate to air on Alabama Public Television, and I think this just backs the decision that internally we had made at that time. I want to thank you for this, and these will be delivered to the commissioners at your request.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think those who want to can leave. We would entertain some questions also at this time.
How did this? Oh, sorry. How did this come about? How did this petition start?
I really couldn't say how it actually started. I mean, my participation in it started with just hearing the news that the director had been fired, and then finding out why. And I was, outraged might be a little strong, but I was completely mystified and upset about it. And then the Credo, which is an online community of over 3 million people, it acts for social justice issues across the country. Their petition came across my computer, and when I read it, it was just very timely, and so I signed. Faithful America has a similar one that is also included in here. There are 3,500 Alabamians among those who signed, including myself. But I don't know. Do you know exactly how?
No, I mean, I think what you need to do is call. The reality is that officials of neither organization are here. They're from out of state, so we're really representing them in a sense. And what they asked is that you all, if you have more questions about their organizations, you give them a call. Their numbers are on the press release. So I can't speak for them, and I don't think
I have no idea other than asking them about how that all began.
Yeah, I was curious less about their organization specifically, but who in Alabama started this process rolling after the news
Somebody
started?
somebody surfaced that from Alabama. Christians would surface that, and then Credo identifies it and provides a vehicle where we're able to communicate with each other.
You said about 3,500 names from Alabama?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Out of the
114,000.
114,000?
Yes, and I think it's important to recognize that there are that many Alabamians who signed it, but also to recognize what a national issue it's now become. That people who trust public television everywhere are upset that this kind of material could intrude into public television. It's sort of like the proverbial camel's nose under the tent. So there's a broad interest in this. Really, as someone who lives in Alabama, works here, appreciates Alabama, I really want to see public television be able to maintain the editorial integrity that it's had.
So let me say, this is a propaganda project. This is David Barton's propaganda project. He may not have initiated what is happening here, but he is behind many of these kinds of moves. This is a man who played a major role in dumbing down high school textbooks and the Texas textbook selection process. The same man who fought along with others on the radical right to eliminate Cesar Chavez, Martin Luther King, and others from high school textbooks in this country. So, this is hardly an isolated incident, but it is, it seems to me perfectly apparent that what we're looking at is an attempt by the radical religious right to take over public television programming in the state of Alabama, and that's a disaster.
The petition calls, if I remember correctly, for two courses of action for rehiring Alan Pizzotto and Pauline Howland, and also to not air the program. Do any of you foresee further actions? Is the SPLC going to take a firmer hand in this issue, or is it stopped with the petition?
Well, no, we don't have any particular actions planned, like a lawsuit that I know of. Certainly, we've been watching David Barton for some years now. He's come to play a more and more important and loathsome role in public life. So, he's someone we pay a lot of attention to. Frankly, I thought it was shocking to find that anybody at all in their right mind was considering putting this propagandist onto public television as if he actually had anything to do with education. So, I think it's incumbent on us all to do whatever can be done to right this wrong.